Welcome to another episode of Touring the AFC South. I am your host, Mike Patton, and on this episode, we're going to be talking exclusively about Nashville, Tennessee. Yes, Nashville, Tennessee, home of the Tennessee Titans, and some big news that dropped today. Now, of course, if you're not aware, let me go ahead and bring that news to you. Of course, it was broke by Mr. Dan Patrick on his radio show. And on the show, he said basically that a source had told him that uh, Nashville should be set to host the Super Bowl in the year 2030. His source also said that the deal is signed and ready to go. Basically largely driven by the new Nissan Stadium, which for Nashville, that's huge news. It's kind of a picture of how everything was kind of envisioned with this new stadium, actually. Anyway, for those that don't know or are wondering, does Roger Goodell visit these stadiums, check out the sites, all these different things? The answer is yes. The reason why I know that because in November of 2025, November 21st, actually, it was the steel topping ceremony where basically the final structural beam was placed, where Roger Goodell actually signed it. He was here. He toured the actual stadium that day as well. So, not only did he come here for that ceremony, but he toured the actual stadium, got to check out the ins and outs of it, which, by the way, really, really incredible stadium, which we're going to go into in a little bit later. Go into that a little bit later in regards to the ins and outs of that stadium. And then, of course, he basically signed the beam. The owner of the Titans, the majority owner, Amy Adams Strunk, was there as well during that time. And then there was a press conference afterwards. And here's where things got really interesting back in November. And when I heard these statements and listened to these statements, I knew at that point it was only a matter of time before Nashville was going to get a Super Bowl. Listen to these. Just take a sec to take in these comments. He said, so Roger Goodell basically he toured the stadium and he at a press conference he expressed high expectations for Nashville to host future Super Bowls, not just a Super Bowl, future Super Bowls, by the way. And he said the venue of the new Nissan Stadium was a great stage, and he also described Nashville as Super Bowl ready. So, those were a few things that I knew in my mind when I heard these things from Roger Goodell. Yeah, Nashville was getting ready to get a Super Bowl. It just was a matter of when, not if. But let me kind of rewind you back to the beginnings of the new Nissan Stadium. Well, when new Nissan Stadium was talked about, of course, it was talked about, regular around 2023, some of that nature, because they had to do repairs on the current Nissan Stadium, and they did an assessment. And looking at the assessment of the stadium, it was going to cost as much as what it would probably to just make a new stadium. So in that instance, it kind of went through all the stages it need to go through, approvals and things like that. They started building a new stadium February of 2024, actually February 29th, 2024, which, leap year, by the way, for folks. This February only has 28 days normally. So the stadium is supposed to be ready in February of 2027. So that'll be, it's a while from now. Well, not as far as it was back then, of course, obviously, but it's less than a year now, and the stadium will be ready. Let me just give you a few features of the stadium, by the way. Now, one thing that's been talked about is it's going to have less seats than the current Nissan Stadium. The current Nissan Stadium, it gets closer to, it's over 60,000 in the new Nissan Stadium, almost, but this stadium is going to have 60,000 seats, which is roughly 10,000 less than the current Nissan Stadium. But there's a reason for that, though. Check this out. It's designed to have a more intimate viewing experience. And check this part out here. It's going to have the seats are going to be 38% closer to the field than the current stadium. So basically, you're going to be more on top of the field. And it's going to be basically eliminate those upper deck views that are really, really hard to see the field. Is trying to eliminate those type of views, which I think is really good for a fan experience. If you're looking at a stadium, watching a game, or just watching a game in general, it's better to have that type of view. Also, the stadium, the seating is going to be more rectangular, and it's kind of the reason why they kind of built the stadium the way they did is to kind of enhance the improve the sight lines for viewers of the game. So you'll see the game, be able to see the game better, as opposed to those odd angles and ends where you're straining to see the field. And also with that, it's supposed to be enhanced crowd noise. So that's a huge thing for the Tennessee Titans to be able to create more crowd noise, hopefully more, in terms of Titans fans as opposed to, opposing fans. The last couple of years, it's been kind of a little bit more of the opposing fans in Titan Stadium, in Nissan Stadium, I'm sorry, than, Titans fans. So, hopefully with, the team continuing to grow and get better by the time they go into the new stadium, that be more Titans fans in there. And I'm pretty sure that's what Amy Adams Strunk hopes for, and therefore more noise to get behind the Tennessee Titans team. Also, they, even though they do have a smaller stadium, they will actually have more premium seating and modern hospitality options as well. So, it's definitely good for the owners to make money. So, you definitely know the owners are not in this not to not make money. They're going to make their money. And of course, the $2.1 billion stadium, by the way, will be enclosed with a permanent, dome. I'm sorry, that features a state of the future design with a translucent fixed roof. Now, I know you're trying to figure out how are they going to make it a translucent fixed roof that basically you can see through. How are they going to make it that way? Well, let me give you what the name of that material is. That material is tetrafluoroethylene, which is it's ethylene tetrafluoroethylene, which is a durable, lightweight, and translucent plastic material that allows natural light to enter the stadium while keeping the stadium enclosed and climate controlled, which is definitely one of its kind, definitely brand new. It's going to be interesting to see how that works out. And then the material, of course, allows for natural light to enter the stadium while keeping the stadium enclosed and climate controlled. And it's going to be supported by a network of cables connected to a ring beam going around that part of it too. So all of that's going to be where you can actually see through it. It's going to be all connected with that ring beam. And of course, now inside, weather won't be a factor. So it won't be hot, cold, whatever. It's going to be a certain temperature and stay at a certain temperature during the entire game. Which, if you live anywhere and if you've been to a game at Titan Stadium, Nissan Stadium, it's near the Cumberland River. And near the Cumberland River, it can get colder there near the body of water than it can be in other parts in Nashville. So with that stadium being enclosed, the weather, especially near the river, is not necessarily a factor because, for those that aren't aware, Nissan Stadium, the new Nissan Stadium, is right next door to the old Nissan Stadium. The old Nissan Stadium will be closer to the water, and the new Nissan Stadium will be a little bit further away from the water. And they're basically, the Titans are giving back that land that they had the stadium on, the old stadium. It's going to be given back to the city for the city to do whatever they would like to it. And it's already been talked about in the city that the Tennessee Performing Arts Center will more than likely be moving over to that area near where the old Titan Stadium is, and kind of, I guess, be in that arena area as well. It'll be interesting to see how the parking works out, things like that. And no one, has talked about it, but of course, one of the big things there in Nashville, traffic. Now, I know people will say LA traffic, Atlanta traffic, New York traffic, whatever. I understand. But traffic here is always an issue. And as the city has grown, it's one of the fastest growing cities in America. As the city has grown, the infrastructure isn't necessarily great for all that traffic. So it'll be interesting to see what things change within that 3 years, this 3 years time to kind of handle the type of traffic a Super Bowl week can bring. Now, I know I talked about the new Nissan Stadium, and I know plenty of people are wondering. Like Goodell said, the city is Super Bowl ready, but I know people have questions, and people really are questioning: is the Super Bowl ready? Like Goodell said it is. Now, plenty wonder. Biggest thing is the hotel rooms. You have to have a ton of hotel rooms to be able to host a Super Bowl, because if you don't have enough of them, it's going to look really, really bad. Over the last 6 years, Nashville has added 8,500 to 9,500 hotel rooms, and basically they have Nashville has a total of 40 to 42,000 total hotel rooms in Davidson County, and over 60,000 rooms in the greater Nashville area, and with potentially 2,700 to 13,000 additional rooms in various stages of development. That would put you at a total, if you had 13,000 more, 73,000 additional rooms if they're able to get to the 13,000. That's a lot. But, if you compare it to cities like Atlanta and Las Vegas, doesn't come with comparison to that one, because, Atlanta, you got 110,000 hotel rooms. Las Vegas, you got 150,000 hotel rooms. However, you got to also look at 3 other cities that have hosted the Super Bowl as well. One of those being Tampa, Florida. Tampa, Florida only has 48,000 hotel rooms, and they've hosted 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 Super Bowls, 5 of them, and they only have 48,000 rooms, hotel rooms, by the way. Minneapolis hosted one, 10,268 total hotel rooms, 1 Super Bowl. I was actually at that Super Bowl where the Eagles defeated the New England Patriots in one of probably the coldest Super Bowls ever, being that it was cold outside, but it was still cold inside of the stadium in Minneapolis. Yeah, it was still freezing in there, even though it was inside. But that was an exciting game, an amazing game to watch. And also Jacksonville, they have over 15,000 rooms. They've hosted 1 Super Bowl. So for those that are wondering and worrying about Nashville and can they actually host a Super Bowl, can Nashville host one? The hotel rooms tell you right there, yes, Nashville can host one. Also, if you want to look at the airport for Nashville is one of the fastest growing ones too, and they're ever expanding it. It's got flights now going to London and overseas, just straight direct flights there. So it's truly an international, or becoming an international airport, and big enough to, be able to do, handle that much traffic coming into it, which, in the past, maybe like 10, 15 years ago, you probably could not say that. But now you can definitely say that about the city of Nashville and the airport. Moving on to where you want to host events, because, there's going to be plenty of events during Super Bowl week. There's going to be the media party. There's going to be the media center where, all the, media personalities and just journalists go to, write their stories and eat, relax, and do all those different things. The place I would mention there's a few places. You could say the Opryland Hotel. That's, it's a little bit outside the city. So, a little bit is, chance of getting in traffic. It's closer to the airport, but then again, not close to downtown and the stadium. So that's, could be a potential issue there in terms of traveling, especially like I mentioned, the traffic here in Nashville. So that's a spot, it may be a spot where a team stays potentially. I don't know, but we'll see what happens. But that's just a potential spot. Just want to kind of throw that one out there. Now, another spot would be Bridgestone Arena. Now, Bridgestone Arena is on the other side of the river from Nissan Stadium, or new Nissan Stadium. And it's not, it's a crazy, well, I would say it's the weather. It might be like a crazy walk, but, normally it would probably not be a super crazy walk if you really wanted to walk it. But, not too totally far from the new Nissan Stadium. There's a walking bridge you could take at some points there as well. But yeah, that would be a prime spot. But I will say, You also have the Nashville Predators here in Nashville, and you also that are they will be in season at that time, and you could potentially have some NCAA college basketball games. I know those go on during the time around the Super Bowl potentially there at the Bridgestone Arena too. So that's something to think about as well. Maybe if the Predators are out of town, maybe they could turn it into that. We'll see what happens, but that's just something to mention. But there is one other place that is perfect for media and media center and all the different events, parties, whatever the Super Bowl week wants to put together. That is the Music City Center. Music City Center is literally right next door to Bridgestone Arena. It's a huge infrastructure. It's got a parking lot in it. It's got a lot of different big, huge areas in it. It's held a lot of conventions. It's got a lot of huge spaces in it. So that would actually be an ideal place. You not only could do, if you want to host a party, you could host parties in there. You could host different events. All those different things could all go down mostly in that one building. That's how big it is. So if you're not aware of that, look up the Music City Center. That building's huge. It's right next to the arena, and it's bigger than the arena, actually. The whole building is bigger than what the Bridgestone Arena is. So, yeah, check that out. That would be probably the most ideal spot to host all the different things there. And it just definitely, there is, the worry that some people have about Nashville not being big enough. Trust me, it's big enough. We have enough hotels here. There is enough spaces to do all the different things that a Super Bowl would want to do. The only worry for me is the traffic. But, who thought we'd ever be here? A few years ago? Who thought we would ever be here to hosting a Super Bowl in Nashville? I mean, I still remember when I was a kid growing up in Nashville, and there was no football team here. Heck, there wasn't even an arena here for a long time to host what the Predators were playing in hockey and all that. I still remember when we had no sports teams here in Nashville, except for, pro sports teams, except for like the Nashville Sounds, which is a minor league baseball team here. We had Vanderbilt basketball. We had Tennessee State basketball. That was literally about all we had in the city of Nashville. But now you have the Predators. You've hosted the Nashville's hosted the Final Four in terms of women's Final Four. Of course, the Titans came here. I still remember when all those teams were not even here. And now to get to a point where potentially Nashville can host a Super Bowl. I know it's being reported by Dan Patrick. It hasn't been widely reported everywhere yet, but I view Dan Patrick as a very, very credible person to mention these things. And he's not just mentioning them just to be mentioned. So to me, seeing Nashville actually be able to potentially host a Super Bowl is amazing to me. When I was a kid, I would have never envisioned it. I mean, as a kid, the tallest building in Nashville is a building called the Batman Building. For those that haven't been to Nashville, the top of the building looks like how Batman has the little the little part on top of his head. That's what it looks like. That's why it's called the Batman Building. It's actually the AT&T building here in Nashville. But now that building is getting dwarfed by all these hotels and all these condo buildings and things like that here that have just shot up all over the place. Along with that, bringing more people. Along with that, the Titans came in 99, 2000, and plenty remember them going to the Super Bowl that year and how the city rallied behind them. And just, the ups and downs of being in NFL city and all the things that, that has brought to Nashville, along with different people and different businesses moving here over the years. Most notably, like you got a Nissan, and recently you had In-N-Out Burger bring their corporate offices here to Nashville, or Nashville area, I should say. They're out in the Franklin Brentwood area. And then you have stars like, to me, you have a Jill Scott decides to move down here. You have other stars moving down here too as well, but just throwing one star out there that I know plenty of people know and love. But just the growth of this city, all the different things that have happened in this city over my lifetime, to now potentially be able to potentially host a Super Bowl. I would have never imagined that this would happen when I was a kid. I mean, I never thought we'd ever get an NFL team, let alone potentially host a Super Bowl and have now a hockey team, a NFL football team, and of course, the rumors flying around of maybe a baseball team one day here, Major League Baseball team. Who knows? But I can't just say now that those things aren't possible. I have to say now that they could potentially happen, and it's all because of all the growth I've seen, all the changes I've seen in the city of Nashville. Now, I will say some of these changes I've seen in Nashville, they do make me shake my head because Nashville is not the same Nashville I grew up in anymore. Especially different areas, neighborhoods, and things like that. But it is a city that is probably one of the top cities for a lot of people to come to visit, and it has a lot of intrigue now as well. Now, of course, I know people when they come here to Nashville, they're going to want things to do for the entire week. Um, you know, I'll give you a few things, people. I'm not going to leave you hanging, okay? Not going to do that. But during that time, of course, you're still going to have basketball. So you're going to have Tennessee State University basketball. You're going to have, which they went to the NCAA tournament for the first time in like 30 plus years. The men's basketball team. Shout out to Nolan Smith over there at Tennessee State on Jefferson. But we do also have 4 HBCUs here, by the way. Those are historically black colleges and universities. That's Tennessee State. That's Meharry Medical College. Yes, medical college. That's HBCU. Yes, it is. You got Fisk University, and you have American Baptist College. They are all HBCUs, 4 HBCUs that are actually in Nashville. You have the National Museum of African American Music, which is actually right there on the corner of 5th and Broadway. Very, very educational. I love going there every single time I go there. Learn something new every time I go. You do have Prince's Hot Chicken that is in 5th and Broadway too. And for those that aren't aware, that is the originator of hot chicken here in Nashville. Now, I know people go to Hattie B's, but Prince's is the original hot chicken in Nashville. And I figure if you're coming to Nashville, you might want to taste the actual original version of hot chicken. Just saying. Okay, so you do have Broadway. People go down Broadway. You got all the honky tonks in terms of honky tonk bars. I don't think in February the rooftops will be open because it might be a little chilly. But I will say all the places down there will be open, especially on Second Avenue as well. There's Second Avenue that's right off of Broadway. There's plenty of places there, and a lot of honky tonk bars and all those different things as well. If you enjoy that, hey, go right ahead, do your thing. They got the Ryman Auditorium, a lot of history in there. You got Grand Ole Opry, which is out by the Opryland Hotel. You do have the Country Music Hall of Fame. That actually is over, I think we've off the Lumbrium. It's not far. It's maybe like diagonally across from the state, the Bridgestone Auditorium, and right across the way from the actual Music City Center. So they're literally like all 3 right by each other. You have 1230. That's Justin Timberlake's restaurant. That's right there in 5th and Broadway as well. And then you have concerts. You have all different things that are going on in Nashville. And I'm pretty sure that during that time there are going to be a lot of different events going on at a lot of different places, basically in Nashville. But just wanted to give you a few things to think on. Of course, it's 3 years away, so they're going to be 3.5 years away. A little under 3.5, but a little over 3.5. But anyway, there'll be plenty more things to do, plenty more places to go, a lot of stuff to do in Nashville, and a lot of stuff probably to be added within the next maybe three plus half years before the Super Bowl comes here to Nashville. But wow, a Super Bowl coming to my home city and state. Amazing thing to think on. I want to thank you all for tuning into this episode of Touring the AFC South, talking about the Super Bowl. As Dan Patrick said, it's signed, sealed, and delivered to come to Nashville in 2030. Wow. Amazing, amazing stuff. Of course, I'm your host, Mike Patton. You can find me on the artist formerly known as Twitter at Mike Patton82. That's MikePatton 82. You can also find me on Blue Sky, the same thing. Instagram and Threads, you can find me at that's THA and THE _ general _ MP. Of course, touring the AFC South, you can find on all listening platforms, whether it be Spotify, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, Amazon Music, you name it, we are there. Of course, you can find touring the AFC South on the Mike Patton Network on YouTube as well. I want to thank you all for tuning in to this episode. We're out. Peace.